My most memorable studio moment was Buhloone Mindstate with the original JBs, Pee Wee Ellis, Fred Wesley, and Maseo Parker. Those three guys working on the Buhloone Mindstate project, spending about a good 2 weeks in the studio with them. Every time the phone rang for Maseo, it wasn't, no one was sure it was for me or Mr. Parker. But yeah, that was the most memorable moment, you know, to actually hang out with James Brown crew. I got to smoke weed with Fred Wesley and Pee Wee Ellis. I actually, they rolled the joint, I rolled the blunt. They smoked the blunt. They took a hit of the blunt and actually made jokes about it. I got to see those old cats in a childhood moment of who was gonna actually conduct the session, you know, because no one really likes to conduct. They all rather just play and take the lead of whoever else is conducting. So whatever the flip of the coin was, Maseo ended up conducting and they all played. No, it was another session where Fred ended up conducting, but it was definitely going back and forth between Fred and Maseo. Because Pee Wee always conducted coming up with James Brown. So he didn't really care to do any conducting, he just wanted to play. But that was like my most memorable moment in the studio, being with, you know, some guys that my grandmother, you know, grew up partying to their music, you know, so to be a part of that was like better than a lot of things, you know what I mean? That was like, you know, one of the, I could say probably second best to the Nitro tour. It was in Manhattan. I don't remember the studio because they picked the studio. It was actually, they picked, because we wanted to get a certain sound and we wanted to get that vintage sound. And then the mix just marry it with the technology that we play with, you know, the thumping up the drums, but we wanted to get that vintage sound. So it was them who picked the studio and we just booked it and showed up. But I do remember it being like in the East Village. It was in Manhattan. Well, here it is working with live musicians. It always it's always a educational process for someone who makes music, but I never learned how to read music. Or when I write music, it's more so programmed step by step. So to actually work with some avid musicians, you know, and to learn more theory around music, because you just in the presence of those people who really use theory every time they do something. That's the core of how they create, you know. I've been actually come closer and closer to being more of a musician than someone who just programs, you know. And then also as technology even evolved, I've been able to learn how to read music behind, you know, the different MIDI maps and things that they present for you to even have these little tutorials to keep you in place of what I've been feeling my whole life. Now I'm just bringing more. I'm being brought more closer to being a musician, as opposed to somebody who's just making beats.